Hey, Bethany.
Hey,
I am so excited to welcome you in the C suite. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to have this conversation with you. And it occurred to me earlier today that you and I initially met last year talking about certification. You had put together a Zoom meeting for many of us considering going to the WeBank National Conference to make sure we had all the information that we needed, and that was so super awesome that I definitely wanted to have this conversation with you.
yay, I'm excited. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I'd like to start. I don't want to read your bio. I can just sum it up by saying that you are a sales master, a sales guru, that you're all things certification, and feel free to add anything else you want to, but you're a phenomenal person and an amazing connector. You're very generous with your wisdom and with your connections.
Thank you. I think we all have gifts and I think it's our duty and our responsibility to share it. So, I'm happy to do that. And I'm glad I'm entertaining.
That you certainly are. All right. So we have gathered to talk about this field of certification and why it's important and what it's about and what it means for everybody. So why don't you take it away?
So, I think it's important for us to understand that there are always opportunities, whether it's corporate, whether it is on the federal side and the government side. And sometimes many of us are excited that if we can get this corporate contract or we can get this government contract that'll last 5 years, that our business will be set. And there are a lot of opportunities. If you have value, you can sell to anybody. So you don't need a certification to land a corporate client. You don't need to have these credentials in order for you to grow your business with larger contracts. But there is an opportunity, whether you're a minority, whether you're a woman, whether you're a veteran, whether you're small business disadvantage, which that definition is under 15 to 30 million, depending on what you do, then there are opportunities for you to get indoors. Doesn't mean you're going to get the contract, doesn't mean it's automatically going to be handed to you, but there is an understanding that things are harder, whether it's getting capital, whether it is sustaining, whether it is getting in the right door and getting a seat at the table. That is recognized in some organizations and in some government agencies that are mandated to do business with us. So it's just another channel and another network and lever that you can pull, but you still have to work it. It's not just handed to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know you carry multiple certifications, as do I. So, what was it that caused you to want to go down the certification process? Because I know I agree with you 100%. I show up and provide value, whether I'm certified or not, but it has been able to open some doors for me as well.
Yeah, I think it's, one thing that I feel like I was lacking for a long time and I wanted to have was a community. And what I found in the women owned certification, which is an organization called WeBank, and it's WBENC, and we're Weebies. So we're women business enterprises. There's community, there's collaboration. So, you know what? I might not be ready to be a prime contractor, meaning I'm the primary. I'm the one that's putting my name on the paper. I'm committing to fulfill the work. And I might not be ready for that. I might not be able to fulfill. But you know what? There may be another woman owned business in that community that doesn't do what I do. So I think the ability to be in rooms where we can collaborate and not compete. It doesn't matter if I do sales and somebody else does sales. There's something unique to me that I know they can't do. That if we open our minds and say, okay, how can we collaborate? How can we partner? Who's already in the clients that I want to be in? And how can I get a percentage of that business? Whether you're construction, whether you're products, there's a way that you can partner and collaborate and find people that may already have your network, may already have your clients, and you're just adding value to their customer experience. So I think for me, getting the certification was partly just not being alone and isolated. There's a lot of programs and opportunities to further my knowledge. And like many of us, you might be the first generation. I'm the first generation entrepreneur. I don't have rich uncles and granddaddies to go to and be like, hey, I have this business problem. I have this challenge, because no one's ever been an entrepreneur. And I think there's a lot of us like that that are in our family. And where do we go? We have to have
Absolutely.
community, and we have to have a way that we can collaborate. And you can find them without being certified. You don't have to be certified, but to have a built-in community where everyone's goal is to grow and build people up, I think there's value in that.
100%. I couldn't have said it better myself. And, for me, I became aware of certification working in a corporate role. And
Mm,
the corporation decided that they wanted to lean into supplier diversity. And so, being part of the comms team leading corporate PR, I was tasked to help them basically figure out messaging, figure out like how do we attract and how do we support the companies that we wanted to be able to access in various communities, be they women owned or minority owned or veteran owned or whatever not. So that's how I became aware of certifications. And so within the first 6 months of launching my company, I'd already applied to be a WEB. And
that's
then that fall or early the next year, I became a minority business enterprise as well. And again, you're absolutely correct. I do a lot of business that doesn't matter about the certification, but I also have had unique opportunities because of the certification.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think there's value in being exposed to things and also hearing what other people are doing, because
Mhm,
many of us work in our office, in our home, in our own little bubble. And a lot of us start out selling to small businesses or selling B2C or
mhm,
selling to solopreneurs or entrepreneurs because we identify as that. And that's
mhm,
comfortable for us.
mhm,
And
mhm,
it's scary to think like Chick-fil-A is not going to buy from me, Home Depot is not going to buy from me. But if you are spending decades mastering your craft, you have a unique perspective. You have an expertise, and that's valuable. That's valuable to corporations. And you may think that they have it all figured out and they know it all. We were talking to a marketing company, and they were like, why would I sell to a corporation? Because they've got teams. They've got teams, but they don't have funnels. Like, there are big brands that sell Coca-Cola. Think of Coca-Cola, where you're like, Coca-Cola is a consumer brand. Coca-Cola sells to distributors. Do you think they have an email newsletter? You think they have a sales funnel? So there's things like that that you just don't even think about because we're in our world
mhm,
and we have visibility to what we see. But if we don't
mhm.
have proximity to these things, we don't even know that this is an opportunity for us until we see it, and then you can't unsee it.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Absolutely. And the whole idea of having the community. I have met you and other phenomenal certified and non-certified people going to conferences and programs and events and whatnot, and also having the opportunity to share my knowledge and my journey and my experience and help others not recreate the wheel. I think
Right.
that's also really, really important point about these communities that form. I just literally had a conversation with someone a couple days ago where they were like, I don't know where to start. I really want to blah, blah, blah. And I was more than happy to kind of talk them through pricing strategy and marketing strategy and all of that. Because to your point, uh, we all bring something different and we shouldn't be competing. We should be uplifting each other.
Absolutely. And if we learn these lessons and we go from selling B2B or working with small business owners that don't have budget, and they've got to figure out how they can pay you, and they've got to break things into payment plans, that's our mindset. And we're like, okay, well, 25K is a lot. So, but if you're going to a multi-billion dollar corporation and you accelerate their learning, there's value in that. and that
Absolutely.
deems a higher price. So we might not be comfortable in saying, I'm charging 50K and I'm doing a fraction of the work but I'm teaching their team a skill so they can accelerate their learning. And I think we have to understand what our worth is in the market that we want to play in, that we want to be in. So there's a lot of people that we talk to and they're like, oh my gosh, when I start selling to corporate, and I mean, are they going to pay for that? And yes, if value is understood, then they will absolutely pay for that. And there are people that value their time more than their money. And if you stand in that and you know that your value, you're not paying me for an hour, you're paying me for decades of learning to master my craft. That's a lot different than somebody that can pick your brain for an hour. You can pick my brain after you pick my payment plan.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's an excellent point on a lot of levels. But what resonates the most with me is when I'm having conversations with entrepreneurs, whether they've been in business for a long time or they're just starting out, that idea of what I'm worth and what I'm bringing. Well, there are so many other companies doing X, Y, and Z, and I'm just starting. And we always limit our potential. We limit our opportunities. We limit the possibilities when we think that way. And what I try and always share is simply this. Think of the largest corporation on the planet, and they can't service everybody. Can't do it. So there's an opportunity for everyone. You have to find your niche. You have to know what your value is, and you have to deliver exceptional service. And that's how you succeed. So part of what we talked about is that we were going to talk a little bit about how do you kind of get into what the secret sauce is for getting into the certification space and ultimately with corporations or government kind of contracts and opportunities. So what are your thoughts there?
So this is heavily, whether you're going into corporation, there's a community called supplier diversity. Supplier diversity for organizations. There's 1,300 or so members that are corporate members of the national ones, which are NMSDC, National Minority Supplier Development Council, and WeBank, which is Women Business Enterprise National Committee or Councils, one of those C's. And they have corporate members. They pay to be corporate members because they have supplier diversity mandates. They have teams of people. So if you have someone that they have a procurement person / supplier diversity person, that's not a supplier diversity person. That is a company that is paying to be a supplier diversity member so they can check a box, so they can look good. But if you go to organizations that literally have 10 people on their supplier diversity team, that company is committed to diversity. Why does that matter? Because of Title VII. Title VI just got reversed, which reversed affirmative action in education. Guess what's next? Title VII. So if you go to organizations, there are organizations that believe in diversity. It's woven into their culture. They see the economic value of doing business with diverse businesses. Those companies will invest in us and they see value in doing business with us. So you have to understand that it is your job to be transparent and honest about the capacity you have. So say you're construction. You would love to build a whole hospital. Do you have people to build a whole hospital? Probably not. But if you go to the hospital and you start to have a conversation with the supplier diversity person, say, I am certified and I would love to build the whole hospital, but can I just get the lobby? Like, can I just do the walls of the lobby? They value that because they're taking a risk on us. So we don't want to risk their reputation. We don't want to say we can do something that they can't. They would rather us be honest and transparent. Supplier diversity is on the corporate side. That's their role, to help us understand how we can navigate, become a vendor, be trusted, all of those things. On the government side, the federal government has small business liaisons. Federal government, way bigger than dealing with state and local. So federal money has to trickle down to state, trickle down to county, trickle down to city. By the time you get to city, you might be able to find the buyer and have a conversation, but they probably don't have budget. So you have to see federally, there are many buyers. So for Department of Health and Human Services, HHS.gov is the agency that deals with everything that has to do with people. CDC, how much marketing money do you think they spent during COVID? A lot. How much money do you think they spend for Medicare and Medicaid? A lot. So anything at HHS has to deal with people. So if you offer services that have to deal mental health, training, executive coaching, and it's agencies that deal with people, they have a huge small business liaison department. So the supplier diversity on the corporate side, their job is to help us navigate how do we do business with these corporations? Is there opportunity? What does that look like? Do I need to work with their tier ones or their prime people first, which are like the big ones that won the contract? But on the government side, those people are small business liaisons. Well, if you're dealing with HHS, every agency has a small business liaison. At the federal level, every agency is in every state. So if you start to pick one agency that you want to do business, HHS buys everything. Military also buys everything. So if you're product based, they buy socks, they buy underwear, they buy toothbrushes, they buy everything. So there, you just have to figure out, where do you start? Because you can't start everywhere. And your job is to say, this is what I do. So you can create what's called a capability statement, which is basically a one page. It's not in a font of 6. It has to be something that people can read. So you have to be concise. You have to be clear. And you have to talk about it through the lens of the problems that you solve. It's not about you. It should be about you, but it's really about the problems that you solve, the outcomes that you deliver, the past performance or social proof or testimonials that you've done it in the past, some logos, some contact information, and that is all you can fit on one page. That becomes your calling card, your business card. Hey, I'm Renee. This is what I do. Here's my capability statement. I'd love to talk to you. Hey, I'm Renee. Here's my capability statement. This is what I do. Are you struggling with this problem? Are you trying to have this outcome? You now have a new network to work. So that means your job is to let everyone know what you do and how you can help them solve problems. And it may not be right timing. So that means you have to follow up. And it may take you 2 or 3 touch points. Corporations don't have to call you back. Federal government by law has to call you back. So if you're trying to get in the door, you can choose the doors you want to get in, but just focus on the ones that you know would be a good fit for you and start there. You don't need them all. You just need one. You just need to start with one and tell everyone that you know what you do. Because I guarantee you nobody knows, even our friends and family. So I worked in computers forever. And that meant everyone in my family thought I could fix everything with a power button. VCR was broken, go get Bethany. The phone doesn't work, go get Bethany. Just because it has a power button doesn't mean I know how to fix it. But they don't know what you do. So your job today that costs you nothing, and you don't have to be certified, is to tell people what you do. You don't know who your friends know. You don't know who your family knows. So you can say, I help people get certified so they can get larger contracts. And the people that want to do that are small business owners. They're growing. This. That's it. 10 seconds. They don't know.
That's amazing. And, you know, it's really kind of funny. We have a comment that I'm going to show, which I think you and I, Terry, thank you so much for the comment. We all struggle with that, I think. Being able to figure out how to charge for time or the knowledge. And absolutely, we should always be focused on pricing that reflects the value we provide. and the outcomes that we deliver and how that helps them be successful. And that's always part of the equation that everybody forgets about, right?
Yeah.
So it's really important that when you're thinking about the value you provide, you also need to monetize what that means for the organization that you're providing it to. So
Yeah.
if you save them 50,000, 100,000, or you make them 200,000 or $500,000, that's valuable. And you should charge for that value, not based on how many hours, because it might only take you 2 hours if you're really good at
Right.
what you do. So you want to make
Absolutely.
sure that you understand that value proposition and that you're pricing accordingly. Terry,
Yeah.
thanks so much for being here with us.
And
All
Terry,
right,
one of the real
go
quick,
ahead.
I'm sorry. One of the things you can do if you're new to pricing for the government or pricing in corporate, with AI, we use a tool called Perplexity. And Perplexity, we can get some market data on what do other organizations pay or what do they charge. With the government, with the Freedom of Information Act or FOA, you can find out what other people in your industry have bid and won. So you can find out at a federal level how much they pay per hour for a trainer. You can find contracts that have been submitted in your city or in your county and how much they've submitted those contracts for. So you don't have to guess. It takes a little bit of legwork because sometimes you might have to go down to City Hall and say, hey, you had a marketing contract that was won last year. I'd like to see the proposal for this company. And it may take a couple days. They'll get it and they'll give it to you and you can see what they submitted that price at.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're welcome.
Okay, so you segued us right into brass tacks. One of the things I always want to do in the C-suite or any communication is to give real, actionable, no nonsense. Here's what you need to know, or here's how you get started. So you've given out a lot of great nuggets, but what would you leave the audience with respect to what to do? What should they be doing now after they've heard this amazing information you've provided?
So everyone should have a LinkedIn profile that matches the business you want to become, not the business you are. So if my goal is to be here in 5 years, that's what my website needs to look like. That's what my LinkedIn profile needs to look like. LinkedIn gets more visibility than your website now. And if you don't know, 60 million people in the US that are on LinkedIn can cut a check. 60 million decision makers are on LinkedIn. 90 million influence the buying decision or can cut a check. And guess what? 86% of corporate executives go to LinkedIn to find service providers before they ask their colleagues, before they do a Google search, and we're not showing up. So if you are not showing up on LinkedIn and you do not appear to be the person you want to be or the business you want to be, you're doing yourself a disservice because people can't find you. So you have to show up on LinkedIn and you are clear on the problem you solve. That is your headline. That is your bio. That is your banner. What do you do? And you should be able to say that in 3 to 5 sentences. I help whatever solve a problem so they can get an outcome. That's it. That is the first thing you should see. After that, you can say speaker, author, certified, this. But the first thing they see is the problem you solve, who you work with, and the outcome you deliver. So if you do nothing else, step up your LinkedIn game and start with your profile.
Great advice. Absolutely. All right. So you've mentioned a couple other resources as well. So Perplexity, I learned about that from you. So I use it routinely now. So again, thank you for that. I also really want to talk just a little bit about the importance of brand. So you talked about having logos and whatnot on capability statements. Having been in corporations and part of the discussions when certified or other small business owners have come before us to, hawk their services and products and whatnot, I can tell you brand matters. It is super important. So the rule of thought is that if it's unprofessionally presented, if it's not high quality, if it doesn't represent your own company well, the likelihood of you delivering the product or service and representing that brand well is in question. So we often see business owners who could absolutely do the work and would probably be phenomenal at it, but they never get the opportunity because the brand isn't where it needs to be. It creates questions and doubts, and that issue of risk becomes in play. So we want to make sure we are not creating unnecessary obstacles. So invest in your brand, invest in your marketing materials, your capability statement, get professional help if you can, so that it is as optimized as possible, and it will differentiate you and your services and your products within those small conversations.
Right. Absolutely. And you don't have to invest money, money, money. You might have to invest time. But and if you're not ready, to step to the corporation, find somebody that's already servicing them. Partner with other people, because I guarantee you there is opportunity there. But if people don't know about you and they looked at your LinkedIn profile, they're like, I don't really know what he does. I think it's marketing and branding, but then he's talking about storytelling, and then he's talking about graphics. So you have to be clear on how you show up, and then also the value that you deliver to the brand. So you can absolutely get indoors. I mean, we've had clients that have done that literally bought a deodorant, and the experience was terrible. Like, marketing was great, but then fulfillment was terrible. And he was an email marketer, and he emailed him. He was like, listen, y'all need to step this game up, because you emailed me, you text me 19 times the day I got the order. And I hadn't even gotten my product yet. And you're asking me for a review, and I haven't even received it yet. So he was just, as a consumer, my experience was off. So for many of us, we can see where brands and corporations are falling or not doing things that they could do. That's an opportunity for you to start a conversation.
Absolutely. And the other thing I want to piggyback on that point is this. So, as you mentioned, you could do business with the corporation itself. You could do business with their tier one or prime suppliers. But tier one and primes often have tier two suppliers to them. So they're always growing the network. So if you're not ready to go to corporate directly, if you're not ready to maybe approach a prime, perhaps there's an opportunity for you to get past performance, which is always important, and be introduced into that ecosystem by going to a tier two supplier, which is smaller. But it gives you the opportunity to get your foot in the door. It might be a better fit, and then you can work your way up. You'll be known, you'll have the experience, you can build the relationships that are necessary. And as your business and company grows and your capacity improves and increases, then you have the opportunity to literally be pulled in by a tier one or even a corporation. So don't always think you have to start at the top. Baby steps also are very important in this space.
Absolutely. And there are some brands, AT&T is one, Truist is one. AT&T actually has matchmakers with their tier one suppliers. So AT&T is like, if you want to do business with AT&T, you need to work under a tier one. So if AT&T is one of your dream clients, well, guess what? All of their tier ones are in a portal that you can register to be a supplier for their tier ones. Truist is the same way. I went to a supplier diversity event with Truist, and guess who Truist had there? Salesforce, or Ernst & Young, all of their tier ones were there, and their supplier diversity people were there to talk about opportunities to work on their Truist projects. So for those organizations that do value diverse suppliers and see the economic value in it, they want us to win. They want us to grow, and they want to support us by giving us money. But sometimes the process is you got to work with them because we know them and they are accountable to us. So it's almost like a mentor protege thing. There's always mentor protege programs for construction. There's so many layers to construction and so much liability and risk with construction, but there's also mentor proteges at a lot of airports. So those are city. Those are often owned by local municipalities. So there's a lot of opportunities that you can get your foot in the door just being you, just being one person and saying, this is what we can do. So guess what? A marketing project, how many pieces are to a marketing project? There's communication, there's the graphics, there's the video. Now there's reels and shorts and all that stuff. There's so many copy, so many things that people have to coordinate that you can just do what you do. And that can be enough. And then you have past performance, like Renee said. Now you have a logo. I've worked with this airport. I've worked with AT&T. And people are like, okay, I'll try it.
Absolutely. Bethany, you're fantastic. Any final thoughts before we close today?
No, I just want everybody to understand that no matter where you are right now, are you shrinking? Are you playing small? And is there an opportunity for you to go to a next level? And I'm going to say yes, because often we don't realize what the potential is. So just understand that there's a world of possibility that's taking you to the next level. And it may be uncomfortable and it may be challenging, and you may need to learn new skills or hone new skills, but there's so much more that you can do in your purpose, in your community, in the world, if money is not scarce. And we have the ability to give back and to do all the things that matter to us, but we have to own our worth and own our value. And that is a mental game a lot of times more than a market game. So you just have to always do the work so you can continue to grow and excel to the next level.
Absolutely. Well said. And I'll just simply close by saying success is not a spectator sport. You have to be on the field and in the game. And you have to do it with everything you have. Leave it all on the field. Bethany, thank you so much for joining us in the C-Suite. I really appreciate it. And everyone who is looking at us tonight, I appreciate you as well. So I hope you tune in for a future episode. And with that, we will close. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.